Thanks for joining me for tea.
Yeah, my pleasure. In fact, I've I've got my
Yeah.
the rest of my coffee. So clink clink. All right. So welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. Today I'm joined by Autumn, and the project is called Forever Autumn, and the latest album is called Crowned in Skulls. It's an EP that'll be out in February 3rd, I believe.
hmm
So next year. But there is a the first single off the album, The Forest and the Night, is going to be out December 2nd. Cool. Okay. And for those of you who are not as familiar with the music, the project with Forever Autumn, it's acoustic doom or blackened folk or death folk or doom folk.
Make these things up.
Well, I've often my go-to all the time is these categories exist so people have something to argue about.
Mm,
I think, obviously it's also helpful when you're looking to categorize where music should go. I mean, when there were record stores,
right.
like what section do we put this in? Um, but yeah, so I try not to these are not hills that I die on, so to speak.
hmm
Like I'm more than happy to be, corrected or say like, okay, well this could be more doom and less folk, and that's fine.
Right.
Um,
People call my music all sorts of things.
yeah, well, just to give a sense, if you're unfamiliar, um, as I was sort of unfamiliar with those particular combinations.
hmm
So it was really interesting for me, uh, more of a first time listener, to come in and sort of be like, okay, well, this is these are a lot of elements that I'm not used to combining together.
hmm
So, but
That's what I feel.
it was really cool for me to kind of realize like, oh, you can take something that's really light and melodic and combine it with something sort of on the heavier side, and in the right formula, it can be really awesome.
Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, I really connected with the song, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Under Shadows of Anwin.
Under Shadows of Anun.
Anun. Yes, I knew I would mispronounce that. So,
That's okay.
but that was
It's not very self-explanatory.
no. Well, it's so I typically, um, I mispronounce band. Like if I'm just talking to a band or trying to promote a band, like from Europe, a lot of the time I will mispronounce the name of the
hmm
band because. But okay, yeah, that was my.
What do you like about that song?
I think because uh, my wheelhouse there, because that song was more along the lines of a melodic acoustic,
hmm
I think, and that played to more of my sensibilities.
Cool.
So, but for those of you out there, if you're looking for, if any of the adjectives I used to describe the music are things you enjoy, then there's definitely something within this EP for you. That's my 2 cents. But I know you have other albums that are out now.
I do.
So what I would recommend, since Crown and Skulls won't be coming out till next year, do a deep dive on Forever Autumn, on Bandcamp. Find some music,
All sorts of
and
good stuff there.
and then prepare yourself.
hmm
So, was there like when you had you gravitated towards this music from a background in, like, did you sing in the choir in?
No, actually, I have no formal musical background.
Nice.
Um,
Joe?
I I can't read music. I can't write music. I don't know how to do any of these things. I just do. And I think this is just kind of what came of me just doing and what happened. And it turned into this wonderful acoustic doom or whatever we want to call it. And
Yeah, I mean, I'll just how about we just call it good music? It's just good music.
it's good
um
music.
yeah, well, I always my co-host Heather, who lends her name to the show, she and I always joke that neither of us have a music background. of
Hmm.
any sort. We're in this for the love of the game, pretty
Hmm.
much. So we'll create terms to describe it. I'll say it's got a spooky, proggy sound.
Right.
And I don't think if you go to, a musicologist, they'll have spooky, proggy in the lexicon.
Spooky Froggy 101.
Yeah, yeah. So um, it's great also to know that there are people out there, artists who are just sort of enthusiastic about making the music, and they don't have formal training or anything like that. They just love what they're doing, and they're able to create from that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I really don't know how to. I play lots of instruments, but I don't know how to play them properly. So they all turn into just whatever I feel is the best sound, and what you hear is what's on this EP and my previous works. It just
Yeah,
happens.
well, it's one of the, like I remember, I think somebody once told me this jokingly. They said the Clash stopped being good when they learned how to play their instruments. And I feel like there's really no, you don't need to be technically gifted
Hmm.
or know how to read to make great music. You can just, and you definitely have made it work,
Thank
um,
you.
with just the whatever you're creating. I would say keep doing it.
Thanks.
Um,
I will.
so that's so okay. So this album will be out next year. Do you have plans in the interim to play live? Do you have any shows booked or anything like that?
I don't have any shows booked. The last one I played was the Maryland Folk Metal Festival in Baltimore in August. It's difficult to find Forever Autumn shows because we're a little too metal for the folk crowd, but kind of too folk for the metal crowd. And it's really hard to pitch it to a lot of people to book us. But every now and then something fun shows up. And I started working with some new people to back me up live on stage. So I have to consider the distance between them and how I can get them somewhere and what kind of shows we can take so I can pay them. And
Gotcha.
and so
Well,
no plans for shows right now, but I'm really hoping next year after the record comes out, something good will pop up.
yeah. Well, here's to hoping that there will be some opportunities. Um, because it's interesting. There are some musicians I speak to who are exclusively just, studio
Hmm.
music. They don't want to perform live,
I
and
love performing.
the type of music they make is sort of would be impossible to perform live.
Hmm.
Um, but then there's music that really deserves to be performed for an audience. And I think what's great is you can throw on the headphones and listen to Crown and Skulls, or you could come see the band play it live, and you'll get much more depth through the performance.
And the
But you can still
performances
have,
are great.
yeah. Well, that's I see. I'm really intrigued. If you decide to play the Alexandria, Virginia area at some point, um, I would
Let me
be
write that
intrigued.
down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will. I won't hold you to it because obviously there are criteria you had mentioned. But should you be, or if you play Baltimore again, um, or something like that, because I
Mhm.
I would want to come to the show just to see what the experience is like.
I would love to
Um,
have you there.
yeah. Well, it's really it's because it's listening to the music. I would get the sense of it's real. I mean, there are elements of it that are really heavy, but there's also kind of an ethereal quality to it. I imagine it's kind of like a if Black Sabbath was at a Renaissance fair type thing. Um, so just the combination was really intriguing, and I kept imagining like, wow, I wonder what this would be like live. Um,
But I
so
hope I
yeah,
can show you someday.
yeah. Well, here's to hoping. We actually we had a festival through the website a few months ago where we did live stream performances,
Hmm.
and I think we'll try to do that again at some point. So if you're interested, we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, that could be fun.
But yeah, there's just something about the music that you play that I felt like really lent itself to having an audience there. Um,
I can tell you that a lot of historically, a lot of Forever Autumn performances, there would always be a group of people, not the same people, but just some people that would zone out so much into the work that they would just sit on the floor no matter where we are. It could be a gross sweaty club somewhere, it could be just an art gallery, I don't know, but they would sit on the floor and just zone out and be with the music. And that always really got me to think, this is really nice. They get it, they understand, and I'm doing good work.
yeah, well, there is a hypnotic quality to it. And I could definitely see that that would have like the effect that would have if you're there live, and sort of just connecting with the music in such a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, again, I would say if you're not familiar with the band, definitely it's worth checking out because it'll open a lot of doors. Um, I mean, I will say that I'm definitely more curious now about looking into whatever you want to call it, black and folk, acoustic doom,
Some
just
people
that
call it pagan folk, some people
pagan
call it
folk, yeah.
avant-garde.
But there, now that I know what it's about, and it's not just an abstract term, now I can go back and sort of look into it more. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
happy to help.
My yes, well, I'm glad, and I'm glad that there's an hopefully there will be an opportunity to play, um, play next year, when
Yes,
the
I,
album
I do
releases.
hope so.
And
More shows.
if people want to find you, I know you're on all the social media
I'm
platforms,
on
and
most of them, but
some of them.
or at least a few of them. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm a horrible Twitterer, so it's probably not a good idea to look for me there. And that's enough social media for me. I can't handle any more. This is
Yeah,
already.
no, you just need. Well, I will when this goes up. I will tag you on the platforms you're on, so people can find you that way.
Thank you.
But also Bandcamp's a great resource. I know
Bandcamp is wonderful.
you've got a couple of albums there, so people should, as I had mentioned, go back, do a deep dive, be prepared when February 3rd rolls around. You'll know what you're
Yes,
getting involved in.
going to be good. We're
It's going to
doing
be good.
a digital and CD release on the 3rd. There will be vinyl records, but due to time of pressing vinyl records, it's going to be a few months afterwards. But
Sure, but it'll eventually get there.
it'll get there. It'll be fun, and I urge people to listen to the vinyl, especially because it just translates so well. It had always been a personal dream for me to have my music on a vinyl record, and when I finally realized that dream, it was just so amazing that I had to keep doing everything afterwards with a record, even if I can't afford it.
Yeah, well, there's something about vinyl that'll never, you won't be able to replace the sound,
Right.
and the experience. It's always going to be the best medium. So that's great that you have that your music will continue to come out on vinyl. And for me personally, I think it's worth any sort of hurdles you need to overcome to get it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
I do too.
But but yeah, well, I plan on going back, to check out some of the other. I mean, I'm going to listen to Crown and Skulls again.
Thank you.
Uh, Now that it was sort of the first time through to kind of get a sense of what the music was, so we could talk about it. And now that I've talked to you and had a better understanding, of sort of what you're all about, in trying to create the music, it'll be interesting to go back and kind of re-examine it. Like, okay, well, this is typically what I would imagine. Typically, people who come to this medium are former like band, musicians, or people who were in the choir, or someone who's had formal training. Um, whether or not that's a good assumption to have, um,
I would
but
urge you to check out Howls in the Forest at Dusk. That
okay,
was the last full LP that we did, or I did, and it's very good. It's wonderful. I think you'd like it. And the one that came after that, which was the last EP I did, is Hail the Forest Dark. That is a 3-song exploration of black metal through a Forever Autumn style, but it's actually plugged in electric, which was rare, but a lot of fun to play my electric guitar again.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
Crowned in Skulls is the return from that exploration back to acoustic doom, back to pagan folk, and back to the roots of Forever Autumn, and showing that like it's still here, can still do it, and we're going strong.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it all out. So, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. And
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's nice
my
to talk to somebody that has listened to my work and enjoys it.
well, my pleasure, and good luck with everything. We'll be in touch,
Cool.
and I look forward to hearing more from Forever Autumn.
You will. Thank you so much.
You got it.